Welcome to Plum Vengeance, where the people who try to bury you usually forget you know exactly where the bodies are. Today, I'm telling you about the morning my husband's family tried to lock me out of the bakery I built with my own two hands, and how it took me 4 hours to turn their little ambush into the most expensive Tuesday of their lives. If you've ever had someone family by marriage decide your hard work belonged to them, tell me your age and what state you're listening from in the comments and hit subscribe so you don't miss the part where I made the county business journal. Sit back. This one is calm and it is thorough. My name is Della Whitfield. I'm 29, and on the day I was supposed to cut the ribbon on my second storefront, I pulled into the alley behind my flagship bakery in downtown Asheville and found the back door chained shut, not locked. Chained. A length of hardware store steel looped through the handle and the security bar, a fat brass padlock holding it together. 6:40 in the morning. My proofing oven should have been running for 2 hours already. The lights were off. I sat in my van with the engine ticking and a tray of sample boxes sliding around in the back, and I just looked at that chain for a second. My head did this thing where it tries to find the boring explanation first. A break-in, a gas issue, the landlord doing emergency work he forgot to call about, anything but the truth, which was already sitting in my stomach like a stone. My phone buzzed. It was my flour supplier, Hank, who delivers at 6 sharp 3 days a week and has never once been late in the 4 years I've used him. His text said, Della, your sister-in-law turned me away at the front, said the business is under new management and to hold all deliveries. That right? Under new management. I want you to understand who I married into so the rest of this makes sense. My husband's name is Caleb. No, I'm not using his real name. I'm not giving him that. And his family, the Renners, run on appearances the way an engine runs on oil. His mother, Yolanda, has spent 30 years curating the image of a self-made matriarch who built a small catering empire from nothing. The truth is she inherited a banquet hall from her second husband and nearly ran it into the ground twice. But she talks. Lord, she talks. And the whole family orbits her like she's the sun, and they're terrified of the dark. When Caleb and I got married, Yolanda offered to help with my bakery. I said no. I'd already taken the SBA loan in my name, signed my own commercial lease, hired my own 4 employees. I did that on purpose. I grew up watching my own mother get financially trapped by a man, and I promised myself that whatever I built, I would build so that only I could unbuild it. Yolanda did not like that answer. She told people I was proud. She told people I'd regret not letting family in. I called Hank back and told him to hold. Then I called my head baker, Priya. Different Priya than you're thinking. A tiny woman from Charlotte who can shape 40 croissants in the time it takes most people to drink a coffee. She picked up on the first ring, whispering, Della, Yolanda's here. And Brenna is the sister-in-law. They got here at 5. There's a man in a polo shirt putting up new signage out front. They told us the bakery's being restructured and that we should go home and wait for a call about our new schedules. Did anyone go home? No. We're standing in the parking lot like idiots. Priya wouldn't leave, and neither would the rest of us. That right there, my people standing in a cold parking lot at 6 a.m. refusing to walk away, that's the only reason any of the rest happened. Loyalty buys you time, remember that. I told her to keep everyone there and not to argue with anyone, not to give Yolanda a single reaction to feed on. Then I drove around to the front and I parked across the street and I sat there for a minute and watched. There was Yolanda in a cream pantsuit, standing on the sidewalk in front of my shop like she was about to give a speech. There was Brenna handing out little flyers to the morning foot traffic. And there was a man on a ladder screwing a banner over my logo. Over the rolling pin and plum design I'd paid a girl from the art college $400 to draw that read Renne Family Bakery, coming soon. My logo, my shop, my name nowhere on it. The old version of me, the one who spent 2 years swallowing comments at Sunday dinners about how cute my little business was. That version would have marched across the street and screamed. And that's exactly what Yolanda wanted. She wanted me hysterical on a public sidewalk while she stood there calm in her cream suit, shaking her head sadly at the unstable young wife making a scene. She had the optics planned. She always plans the optics. So I didn't cross the street. I picked up my phone and I called my husband. Caleb answered on the fourth ring, and his voice was thick, like he'd been asleep, except I could hear a coffee machine going and a TV in the background. He was awake. He was just performing sleepy. Hey, babe. What's up? Big day, right? Like nothing. Like he didn't know. Caleb, there's a chain on the back door of my bakery, and your mother is hanging a sign over my logo. A pause. Not a surprised pause. A choosing his words pause. Okay, don't freak out. Mom and Brenna had this whole idea, and honestly, hear them out, because it's actually really good for us. The business has been carrying a lot of debt, and Mom wants to bring it under the catering company so we get the bulk purchasing rates and the established brand. It just makes more sense. We'd all be partners. You'd still basically run it. Basically run it. The bakery with my name on the loan. The bakery I built. I would basically run it. Caleb, that's my SBA loan, that's my lease. Your mother can't bring anything under anything. None of it is hers. That's the thing, he said. And now there was an edge of impatience, a manager getting frustrated with a slow employee. Mom talked to a guy. There's paperwork. Just come to the shop and we'll all sit down and you'll see it's fine. Don't make this dramatic. Mom talked to a guy. There's paperwork. I'm going to tell you something about me. Before the bakery, I spent 5 years as a commercial loan processor at a regional bank. I have read more lease agreements, lien filings, and UCC financing statements than I can count. I know exactly what it takes to legally transfer control of a business, and I know exactly what it takes to fake it. When Caleb said there's paperwork, he thought he was reassuring me. What he actually did was tell me a crime was in progress. I'm on my way, I said. And I hung up, and I sat in my van and let the fear drain out and the other thing come up in its place. The cold thing. The thing I'm good at. Here's what I knew. You cannot transfer a business that's collateral on a federal SBA loan without the lender's involvement. You cannot change the name on a commercial lease without the landlord. You cannot bring it under a catering company by hanging a banner and chaining a door. What you can do, if you're Yolanda Renner, is forge some documents, intimidate some employees, and bank on a young wife being too rattled and too eager to keep the peace to fight back before the lie sets like concrete. She was counting on chaos, so I was going to give her order. I made 3 calls before I drove anywhere. The first was to my landlord, Mr. Atchison, who owns the building and 3 others on the block, and who has gotten a fruit tart from me free every single Friday for 4 years. I caught him at breakfast. I told him in plain words, someone has chained my back door and is representing themselves as the new operator of my unit. He did not say, let me look into it. He said, Della, the only name on that lease is yours. I have not signed a thing. I'm calling my attorney and then I'm driving down there, and if anyone altered that door, that's destruction of my property and we're calling the police. Mr. Atchison is 71 and does not play. The second call was to the relationship manager at my bank, the people who hold my SBA loan. I told her calmly that a third party was attempting to assume control of the collateralized business and that documents might be circulating bearing my forged signature authorizing it. The line went very quiet, and then she said the words I needed to hear. Nothing moves on this loan without your verified consent, and we have your signature and ID on file. Send me anything you receive. We take fraud against a federal loan extremely seriously. Translation: whatever paper Yolanda's guy had cooked up was already worthless. She just didn't know it yet. The third call was to my younger brother Wes, who is a sheriff's deputy, 2 counties over, and who answered with, "It's 6:50 in the morning, this better be good." I told him. He was quiet, then he said, "Don't touch the chain, that's evidence. Take pictures of everything before anything moves." And Della? Yeah? Don't let them see you scared, they feed on it. My family knows the renters. Now I drove to the shop. I parked and I walked across the street, and I did not look at the banner. I walked straight up to my 4 employees in the parking lot and I said, loud enough for Yolanda to hear, "Good morning. Thank you for staying. Nobody's losing a job today. Nobody's getting a new schedule, and we are opening on time. Then I turned to my mother-in-law. Yolanda gave me the smile. The patient, wounded, I'm doing this for your own good smile. Della, sweetheart, I know this is a shock. Caleb should have prepared you. But the business is in trouble and family helps family. We're going to fix this together. What trouble? The debt, honey. The loan. You're drowning and too stubborn to admit it. She said it gently, for the benefit of the two strangers Brenna had cornered with flyers. The performance was for them. The unstable girl, the saintly mother-in-law. My loan is current, I said. I've never missed a payment. I have the bank statements on my phone. Would you like me to show these nice people? The two strangers suddenly remembered they had somewhere to be. Brenna jumped in. We have signed paperwork, Della. You agreed to this months ago. Caleb said you discussed it. She held up a folder like it was a sword, and there it was, the lie they'd built the whole morning on, that I had agreed. Can I see that? I asked, very pleasant. Brenda hesitated, then handed it over because she thought it was a weapon. I opened it, and I want to tell you my hands did not shake because I had read 1,000 of these and this one was garbage. It was a business asset transfer and management agreement, and it was the cheapest kind of garbage, a template somebody pulled off a website with the Renner Catering Company named as the acquiring entity, and at the bottom, on the signature line, was my name, in cursive. Looping, pretty cursive. I print my signature. I have signed my name in block letters since I was 19 years old because a manager once told me cursive was easy to forge. The irony was almost funny. Who signed this? I asked. You did, Brenna said, but her voice had gone up half a step. This isn't my signature. I print. Everyone who's ever seen me sign anything knows I print. I looked at Priya. Have you ever seen me sign in cursive? Never, she said. She signs everything like a robot, said my other baker, and a couple of them actually laughed, and I watched that laugh land on Yolanda's face like cold water. And, I went on, flipping to the second page, this names your catering company as the acquiring party in a transfer of a business that is collateral on a federal SBA loan. You can't transfer collateralized assets without the lender. The lender is my bank. I called them 40 minutes ago. They have no record of any such transfer, and they now have a copy of this document in a fraud file. I let that sit. Also, you don't have the authority to alter my landlord's property. He also did not sign anything. He's on his way, and he's bringing his attorney, and he is not happy about the chain on his door. The cream pantsuit didn't look so commanding anymore. Yolanda recovered fast. I'll give her that. She's done this her whole life. You're being hysterical and ungrateful, she snapped, dropping the gentle voice now that her audience was gone. We are trying to save you. Caleb told us how far behind you are. And that, Caleb told us how far behind you are. That was the thread I pulled. How far behind am I, Yolanda? Because I'm not behind at all, so I'm curious why your son told you I was. She didn't answer, but I already knew. I'd known since the word paperwork. I just needed to hear myself say it to make it real. For about 4 months, Caleb had been weird about money, excusing himself for quiet phone calls, a credit card statement I wasn't supposed to see with cash advances on it, a guy's trip to a casino town that he swore was just golf. He's a project manager at a construction firm. He makes good money. There was no reason for him to be quietly bleeding cash, unless he wasn't. He's the one who's behind, I said, mostly to myself, and then louder to her. Caleb's in debt, sports betting or the card tables or both, and he came to you, his mommy, because he could never admit to perfect Yolanda's perfect son that he gambled himself into a hole. So the two of you cooked up a way to fold my paid-off, profitable, current bakery into your catering company so you could pull equity out of it, refinance against it, get him liquid, and you'd own a slice of my business as your fee for the favor. Her face told me everything. The silence told me the rest. I'd built the thing they wanted to strip for parts. The new storefront I was supposed to open today, the one I'd saved 2 years for, they didn't want me to have it. They wanted to absorb the success I'd already created and bill me for the privilege. Right then, three things happened at once, which is the kind of timing you can't plan. Mr. Atchison's truck pulled up to the curb. A second vehicle behind him, a sedan, his attorney. And from inside the parked car at the corner, where she'd apparently been sitting the whole time, my husband's cousin got out. Her name is Marisol, she's married to Caleb's older brother, and she is the smartest person in that entire family and the one they respect the least. She's a forensic accountant for an insurance company. She has spent 6 years at Renner family dinners getting talked over and condescended to. She survives them the way you survive a difficult client. She keeps her mouth shut and she keeps records. She walked across the lot in flat shoes holding a laptop bag, and she did not look at her mother-in-law. She stopped next to me. "Della," she said quietly. "I need 90 seconds before the landlord's lawyer gets to us. Go." She opened her laptop on the hood of my van. 3 weeks ago, Yolanda asked me to clean up a transfer of funds within the catering company's books. I said no. So she had her bookkeeper do it. I pulled it anyway because I had access. She turned to the screen. There's a $15,000 consulting fee that went out of the catering operating account to Caleb's personal account 11 days ago. And there's a pending application. She started the process to take a line of credit against business assets she doesn't legally own yet. Yours, once the transfer went through. She looked up at me. It was never going to go through. But she didn't know that. She was going to draw the credit the second she thought she had control. Give Caleb his cut, and you'd be on the hook for a loan against your own collateral. I looked at my mother-in-law. Yolanda was the gray color of bad dough. "You forged my signature," I said, and now I had the microphone, so to speak. I had the landlord, his attorney walking up, my 4 employees, Marisol, and a couple of curious neighbors who'd come out for the ribbon cutting that was supposed to happen. "You created a fraudulent transfer document. You attempted to take a line of credit against assets you knew you didn't own. You moved company money to my husband so he could cover gambling debts. You chained a door that doesn't belong to you on a building that doesn't belong to you. Yolanda, you didn't just betray me. You committed bank fraud, forgery, and you dragged your daughter-in-law in to wave the folder." Brenna dropped the folder. Brenna dropped the folder. Atchison's attorney reached us, took one look at the chain on the back door in the photos I'd already taken, one look at the banner, and said, "Ma'am, did you authorize alterations to this property?" To Yolanda. She didn't answer him either. And then, because the universe has a sense of humor, Caleb showed up. He came around the corner in his good jacket, the one I bought him, with that managing a difficult meeting look on his face, and he stopped dead when he saw the landlord, the lawyer, his cousin's open laptop, and his mother the color of paste. "Okay," he said, "hands up. Everybody just calm down. This is a family misunderstanding." "It's a $15,000 misunderstanding," Marisol said, not even loudly. "It's in your account, Caleb." He looked at her like she'd slapped him. Then at me. "Della, babe. I was going to put it back. I had a rough stretch, a few bad bets, it spiraled, and I panicked, and Mom said she'd help, and the bakery was just sitting there with all that value in it." He actually said that. The bakery was just sitting there, like it was a parked car, like the 2 years and the 4 a.m. mornings and the burns on my forearms were just sitting there. I took off my apron. I put it on out of habit, out of muscle memory, because today was supposed to be a baking day. I folded it and I set it on the hood of my van next to Marisol's laptop. "Caleb," I said, "I funded this myself so that no one could ever do to me what you just tried to do. You married a woman who reads loan documents for fun and you thought you'd outpaper me. You and your mother were so busy planning the optics you forgot to plan the math." I turned to Mr. Atchison. "I'd like to press charges for the chain and the unauthorized signage. Whatever you need from me, you've got it." "Already calling it in," he said. I turned to my employees. "Bakery opens at 8. We've got a ribbon cutting at the new location at 11. Priya, fire up the proofer the second that chain comes off. We're behind, but we'll catch up." And then I did the thing I'm proudest of, the small thing. I walked over to my husband and I worked my wedding ring off my finger. It stuck a little. It always did in the cold. and I dropped it into the half-empty paper coffee cup he was holding. It went in with a little splash. "Put it toward your debts," I said. "It's the most that ring is ever going to be worth to either of us. I want to tell you it ended cleanly, but consequences are slower than movies. Here's how the rest of it actually went. Wes was right about the photos. The chain came off as evidence. Yolanda was charged, and this is the part that still feels unreal to type, with forgery and attempted fraud against a federally backed loan, which is not a state court slap on the wrist. It's the kind of thing that brings a federal flavor to your week. Her catering company's books got opened up, and the consulting fee was the first thread of a sweater that did not stop unraveling. The fake transfer document, the credit application against assets she didn't own. All of it was already sitting in my bank's fraud file by lunchtime, because I'd sent it the second Brenna handed me the folder, photographed page by page in the parking lot while Yolanda thought I was just looking. Brenna, to her tiny credit, flipped fast. She told investigators she'd been told the whole thing was already agreed to, that I'd signed, that she was just helping family. Whether that's true or whether she's just smarter than Yolanda, I don't know. She and I are not friends. But she's not the one in real trouble. Caleb was the one who lost the most, the fastest. The 15,000 was the least of it. His firm has a morality clause, and a project manager whose name is attached to a forgery and fraud filing is a liability a construction company does not carry. He was put on leave within 2 days and quietly let go within 2 weeks. Marisol, once she'd handed me everything she had, filed her own paperwork. She'd been waiting 4 years for the right moment to leave Caleb's brother, and a family in federal freefall is excellent cover. She left her keys on the counter and drove off and texted me one line. Reading the fine print finally paid off. I sent her a single thumbs up. We have lunch now once a month. She's the only renter I kept. The local business journal ran a short piece, "Family dispute halts bakery expansion" at first, and then, after the charges, a longer one with the words "forgery" and "SBA loan" in it. I did not give them a quote. I didn't have to. The court filings were public, and the truth, once it's on paper, does the talking for you. The new storefront opened, 3 hours late, with a chain link cut still warm in the dumpster behind the old shop, but it opened. We sold out of everything by 2. Caleb called 11 times over the following month. The voicemails followed the exact arc you'd expect. The first ones were angry. I was overreacting. I was ruining the family. I was destroying his mother over a misunderstanding. Then they got smaller. Then they got wet. The last one, he was crying, telling me he was just trying to fix everything before I found out that he never meant for it to go this far, that he loved me. He was trying to keep the peace, he said. That phrase again, the peace. I listened to that one all the way through, sitting in the dark of my new shop after close, the proofers humming, and I texted him back one time before I blocked the number for good. "You didn't try to keep the peace, Caleb. You just decided I'd be the one who paid for it." 6 months out now, it's a clean spring morning, and I'm standing behind the counter of the second store at 6 a.m. with the door unchained and the lights on and my own name on the lease, the loan, the deed to myself I built out of mornings nobody saw. Marisol's coming by at 9 for a tart and to tell me how the divorce mediation went. The proofer's full. The first batch is rising the way it's supposed to. They thought my bakery was just sitting there, full of value, easy to take. They forgot that the woman who built it knew exactly what every page was worth and exactly how to make them pay for trying to take it. If a family member ever decides your work belongs to them, drop your age and your state in the comments and tell me, would you have warned them first? Or would you have let the paperwork do the talking, like I did? The chain on that door wasn't really about a bakery. It was about a family that had spent years deciding my work was something they were entitled to, simply because they wanted it and I was supposed to be agreeable. Yolanda didn't wake up one morning a criminal. She got there one small permission at a time. Every Sunday dinner where I let a comment slide. Every cute little business I smiled through to keep the peace. People learn what they can take from you by watching what you let go. I taught her, without meaning to, that I'd rather be liked than respected. The chain was just the day she finally tested the lesson. What saved me wasn't luck. It was the boring choices I made years before I ever needed them. I put the loan in my own name when she pushed me not to. I learned to read the documents most people sign without reading. I signed in block letters because someone once warned me cursive was easy to fake, and a decade later, that one stubborn habit was the thread that unraveled her forgery. None of that is glamorous. Nobody claps for the woman who keeps her own records and reads the fine print. But the morning Caleb and his mother came for everything I'd built, the only thing standing between me and ruin was the version of me who'd done the careful, unexciting work nobody noticed. And here's the part I want you to sit with, because it cost me a marriage to learn it. When Caleb cried into the phone that he was just trying to keep the peace, he believed it. That's the trap. Keeping the peace, for people like him, always means someone else absorbs the damage, so they never have to feel the weight of their own choices. I had been that someone for 2 years. The day I stopped, the peace didn't break. It just finally landed on the person who'd earned it. The strength I'm proudest of wasn't crossing that street to scream. It was not crossing it. It was standing in that cold parking lot with my hands steady, making 3 phone calls instead of one scene, letting the truth do the heavy lifting because the truth, once it's written down, never gets tired and never backs down. Anger feels like power, but it's the cheapest thing you can spend. The expensive thing, the thing that actually wins, is staying clear-headed while everyone wants you to fall apart. So if you ever find your own door chained, I'll tell you what Marisol's quiet ledgers and my brother's voice and 4 employees who refuse to leave a parking lot taught me. Build your life so that only you can unbuild it. Keep your own receipts. Be the kind of person whose word is worth more than someone else's signature. And when the moment comes, and for someone somewhere listening, it's coming, don't waste your one good shot on a scream. Spend it on the paperwork. That's where the real power was sitting the whole time.